Welcome to Top Advisor Marketing, where you will learn how to become a prolific online influencer, attract more ideal clients, and grow your practice. Brought to you by Top Advisor Podcasting, a done-for-you podcasting solution built just for trusted advisors. And now, your co-hosts of Top Advisor Marketing, Kirk Lowe and Matt Halloran.
Hello and welcome to another Top Advisor Marketing podcast. Many of you have heard Kirk and I talk about for a long time the importance of integration of all of your technology, especially from a client service standpoint. It also helps with prospecting and also frees up your time so that you can do more things with your practice. And we have an expert today who's going to help you understand how you can do those things with integration when it comes to technology. Kristen Schmidt, who is a tech strategist, speaker, and consultant, the founder of RIA Oasis, is our guest. Welcome, Kristen, to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
You were introduced to our firm by one of our mutual friends. And after we had our initial conversation, just to kind of get to know who you are, what you do, and you allowed me to do that, which I truly appreciate, I was absolutely amazed because I didn't know there were really people out there like you. Why don't you tell our audience really who you are and what you do?
Sure, absolutely. You're right. There's not a lot of people like me, so I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you. So I was born and raised in the hybrid space of a broker-dealer affiliated and independent RIA advisory firm located here in the Midwest, born and raised here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And so I got exposed to a small firm that had interest in growing, but this was back in 2004, 2005, when the internet hadn't really been invented yet. None of us knew about it. So I entered the space when technology was still very server-based and something that wasn't supporting us. I mean, I didn't even have a cell phone at the time. So I ended up working for this firm in operations and worked my way up the ladder as operations manager and COO, and for 10 years helped them develop proprietary technology integrations for their growing business. So we started with a couple of gentlemen who knew that they wanted to have this independent RA. And when I ended, we were more than $1 billion assets under management, over 50 advisors, and multiple offices around the Midwest. And I realized how much I had learned through those 9 or 10 years of jumping from different technology platforms, being multi-custodial and working with the custodians. And so I knew I wanted to do that for other firms. So I left that firm knowing that I wanted to spread my wings. I had some exposure working for some tech companies and also consulting with other consulting firms. And back in 2017, decided to open up my own consulting firm to do it on my own. And here I am today.
If an advisor does what you and I both would love and dream that advisors would do, which is to really, truly look at their systems and technology and integrate, what can that do for the advisor? I mean, this is generally an expensive, or at least a moderately expensive improvement, right? But it's one that pays. It's like when you are going to sell your house, they always say, update your kitchen, right? Because it's like the biggest investment bang for your buck. Well, you're the kitchen, right? So if an advisor is ever going to sell their practice, having your system integrations is what's going to really make their practice worth even more. Let's dive a little bit more deeply into what you do and how that can help the advisor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the analogy of the kitchen. And at the end of the day, that's where everybody gathers, right? So it has so many different analogy topics. I think the 3 focus areas that are important for everybody to learn about is the first area is technology assessment, research, and recommendation. I mean, the truth is there's just so much tech out there that it's hard to keep up with what's new, what's being updated, and what's a right fit for your firm. So let's talk about that for a second. A lot of advisors are on demos consistently and are going to conferences and interacting with these vendors. But I'm not sure that advisors and planners are taking a step back and identifying what they need out of this technology. And when I say what they need, let me give you specifics. First of all, we can have technology that's a Maserati or a Volvo. And we need to decide what we need based on our staff skill set, our staff and executive capacity? Do I have the bandwidth to learn this and upkeep this type of Maserati technology? We need to know what we need from technology based on our growth potential. Are we just sustaining our business, or are we looking to grow? And if we're growing, will this technology support us 1 year, 3 or 5 years down the road? So that technology research and assessment is really important. And I work with all of the vendors. I know all of the technology. I use it every day, and I use it with all different types of firms. So some of the value that I bring is being able to say, yep, I worked with a firm like yours 3 months ago. Here was their pitfalls in what happened with that tech stack, right? Also identifying your tech stack. What's your current infrastructure, right? What do you currently use? What do you like? What don't you like? What's hiccuping your operations staff continuously? The second silo is optimization. There's a lot of fancy words that we all use in technology, but optimization basically means, are you using your technology to its full capacity? Are you using all of the apps? Are you pushing integrations? Are you actually understanding how to use it? Most firms are using 20 to 30% of what the technology truly offers. And you just mentioned cost, and that's a huge piece. You're paying for something. Are you using all of it? And are you getting what you're paying for out of it? So I help firms adopt the technology. Again, there's a very big difference between usage and adoption, and I think that's really important. And then the third area where I help is workflow and process. When I say that, I smile because it makes people very nervous, but it's probably the number one craving that firms come to me for. I wish I had a repeatable process for my client meetings. I wish that I had a workflow for new client onboarding, for move money distribution, for RMDs, the common things that we do for client service, growing the firm with new acquisitions. It's important to have repeatable processes. So I work with your teams to build workflows, and then I actually go into your CRMs and I build them on your behalf. We talk through it together. It does not get rid of the homework that these firms have to do. The only person that knows their processes is the RIA firm, but I can translate those to the technology, teach you how to use it, and create accountability for that efficiency and time saving.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here, if you don't mind, because the advisors a lot of times are always looking for solutions, are always looking, the new shiny thing. They're at a conference and they're bombarded with why this software is the greatest thing since sliced bread. You come in, right? So they are smart enough to hire you. How do you get the advisor to truly assimilate and implement this into their practice? Because a lot of times they're the bottleneck. What do you do about that?
No, it's a great question. First of all, I get to know the business beyond their technology. Of course, I'm a tech strategist and I'm a consultant, so that is top of mind. But the only reason that technology is supporting us is because we need to be matching our technology to our business model and our services. So a lot of times technology is being used, but it doesn't match the services provided to your clients or the services that you're selling to your current prospects. So I often am bridging that gap to say, technology X is really great, but it's not really fitting your top 2 service levels of demographics of clients or services you want to offer. So we either need to adjust how you're using that technology, or we need to look for new technology that supports that for your growth. So a lot of what I'm doing is connecting the dots of the business to the operations. So that would be number one. Number two, what I'm also doing is, I say this very often, I bring clarity very quickly by offering the benefits and consequences to what you're choosing to do as an executive and as a decision maker. So for example, yes, you are correct. Technology X and technology Y integrates, but have you looked at the technology? Do you know how it operates? It's actually not that blingy. And have you asked your operations staff if they're even using it? Because it might be quicker for them to not use that button. So the benefits and consequences of making changes or implementing can affect the entire ecosystem of your business and your tech platform and your people. And I think that's where I can come in. And you're absolutely right, though. You bring up a good point. A lot of the executives are, unfortunately, where things stop. Right? You need everybody to be adopting the technology, to believe in it. And if you don't have executives doing that, we have two choices. We either need to find fantastic support staff to support the executive, or I need to coach them to share with them why it's imperative that they use it and do one-on-one coaching with them to help them to adapt the technology and use it as much as they can. So a lot of it is I turn into two different support systems for firms. I can talk to the executives at a very high level, business level, and growth potential standpoint. But I can also talk to those operations people, especially because I've been those boots on the ground, right? I was that ops person. I've lived in their shoes, and I can help them turn things around to become more efficient and more accountable. Marrying those two things together then with me being the consistent piece of that puzzle definitely helps.
Is there a percentage of use and efficiency you strive towards? Because you had said 30% was the number that really jumped out at me, that a lot of people are just using, less than half of the capability of their existing software and technology. Is there a number that you say, okay, I'm good with this, like I'm going to go ahead and check this as a completed box?
Sure. No, it's a great point. I think there's a couple of things. Number one, doing a needs and wants assessment of each area of technology, I believe, is very important because every firm needs or wants something out of technology in a different space. Let's start from the beginning. I am a believer in there are 4 main courses to technology in my world. Those main courses are CRM, portfolio management, financial planning, and client portal. Now, there is a lot more important technology out there. I call the other stuff, I call that side dishes, okay? Examples of side dishes would be trading and rebalancing tools, auto scheduling tools, dictation, form filling tools, electronic signature, the list goes on. Those are all very important. I consider those to be quick wins in side dishes because they all complement one of the main dishes that I mentioned. So the idea is when you go to Thanksgiving dinner, you don't have an entire plate of mashed potatoes, right? And so the e-signature is not something that's going to fill your plate. But the CRM and portfolio management systems that use that e-signature tool definitely need it to connect the dots of our repeatable process. And it creates a great client experience. So when I come into the mix, a lot of times we look at those 4 main course technology pieces, and we identify what the firms need out of it to then determine what boxes we need to check for them to be using it to the most of their capability. Some of the must-have areas for me, we'll talk CRM for a second. I am a huge believer in the quality of data within a CRM must be fantastic. There's no excuse for having missing data points in a CRM, for not having primary information, and there's no excuse for using a CRM as a Rolodex. And so because it's one of the hubs, consistent and updated information in a CRM and segmentation is an absolute must. So those are some of the boxes that I check off with a firm. Even if we're not doing a full optimization, it's a necessity. In portfolio management, same idea, the quality of data, right? Garbage in, garbage out very often is what happens with these tech tools. In portfolio management, the quarterly performance reports and the queries and the account data, transactions, benchmarking, all of that's very important. But where are those reports going and how are we making that transparent to clients is very important. In financial planning, we talk about really looking at the holistic approach to a client. I am a financial planning centric consultant, so I go towards clients' goals, the holistic approach to net worth reporting. We're not just talking about the assets that I manage as your advisor, but we're talking about all of your assets and liabilities so that I can plan for your future knowing everything. So encompassing all of that is really important into a financial planning tool. And then lastly, that client portal as the 4th main course, all of the things I just talked about end up landing in a client portal as a client experience. And so what do we want to show clients? How are we being transparent for them to get the information when they need it? And how are we getting them sticky to the advisor's portal? It's not the vendor's portal. It's not eMoney. It's not Orion's portal. It's not Money Guide Pro portal. It's not Wealth Access. The portal is yours, your brand. And you want the client to know that when they're logging into that portal, they're logging into you, into your avenue of communication. And I think it's really important that the three main courses of CRM, portfolio management, and financial planning all kick back into that client experience tool that's needed to round everything out.
I love that you focus all of that onto the client experience, because this is a marketing podcast, right? So let's bring all of this around. So somebody does this integration. Somebody has that end game of what the client experience is going to be. How can this help them from a marketing perspective?
Sure. Oh, that's a big question. So let's pick apart different pieces. Number one, when I say client portal, the number one question I get is, well, I have one. It's TD, it's Fidelity, it's Schwab, it's Pershing. And I think we need to, as an industry, redefine what the client experience is and what is the client portal offering to your clients. So number one, a client portal is much more than a custodial login. A client portal is branded to your company. It is a pathway to open the doors to do any type of communication between the client and the advisor or planner. That means document sharing is in the client portal. Assets under management might be showing. Reports in regards to performance. Custodial statements maybe are available to sync in, so they don't need to log into the custodian because it will be in the advisor's client portal, right? Outside asset aggregation, those outside assets that you're not managing can get linked. Somebody's, child's 529 plan, their 401k, a mortgage is something that is a liability that should be considered. So that net worth reporting can be hubbed inside a client portal. The goals, the planning aspects, spending and tracking, even the mobile access to be able to have access to this information at any time, that's truly what a client portal is. Then we can begin to talk about that client experience, which is how do we get clients sticky, right, to this space? And let's be clear, we're getting them sticky to the advisor's brand. So we want to be able for the advisor to brand themselves and say, we have a one-stop shop for you to come and get documents. Share your tax documents with me. I will share your plan with you. And it allows the communication to be secure, to be safe, and to be no longer confusing. Most firms come to me with at least 2 to 3 portals for a client. If you can imagine giving a client, that means they have at least 3 usernames and 3 passwords to 3 different websites that you're offering them. No wonder they're not sticky to you or updating you on when they have an address change, when they've changed their email, when they've shared a document, they're sending it over email, which is not secure. All of those hiccups that happen operationally is because of that client experience that needs to be branded and marketed towards the company's firm. And so I think it's really important to pick a one-stop shop and allow everything to be there. And for firms to spend time building that customized client portal so that the marketing can occur. You drive your clients to that space for everything. Every time they log in, they see your logo and they know it's your experience. And that's where the referrals and the reputation and the growth can come from.
We've talked about efficiency. When you and I were just waxing philosophical on a non-recorded call a couple of weeks ago, that was one of the big things that you had talked about was, Matt, when people really do this, it frees up a lot of time. When we were just kind of warming up for the podcast today, you said that there were a couple of things that you like to talk to your clients about after they have freed up their time. Would you share that with our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. In the beginning of being a consultant, I was learning my approach in working with executives who all run very different businesses. Everyone's client relationships are so intricate and unique. But I realized that I was walking into these client relationships of mine, assuming that advisors wanted to grow. And I had the realization that that was very unfair of me to assume that. There are many very successful firms that are truly looking to sustain their growth and they're creating a succession plan, but they might not have interest in growing. Or there are firms that are interested in growing, but maybe at a very slow pace or at a very strategic space of organic growth. And so I think it's important for advisors and planners to ask themselves, what will I do with the time that Kristen and technology might bring to the platform? And I start asking that question now to my clients versus waiting till the end to ask it, right? So I have some advisors who come to me and say, and my question is, if I gave you 2 hours extra every week, what would you do with it? And 2 hours might not seem like a lot, but if I actually blocked it out of your calendar and I put it on your calendar as open, your choice, what would you do with it? And I have some advisors who say, I would finally have time to sell. I can start being a rainmaker. I can network myself. I can meet with the different communities and people around me that I've been waiting to banter with. I would put my time into marketing efforts. I'd put more of my attention towards where this business is going. I would work towards my business plan. I would check my business plan to see if we're going there. But then there's a flip. There's other advisors who say, I would take that time for myself. I have not golfed in forever. My family deserves more of me. And you allowing me those 2 hours gets me to soccer practice. It gets me home at 4 instead of 5. It allows me the time that I need to be a better business owner when I come in the next day. And so I think it's important, instead of advisors thinking, I just need the time for me and my people, my question is going to be, for what? And that might drive our strategy in regards to your technology and your initiatives with your staff. It might drive it differently depending upon what your goals are with your time. It's funny. Everybody has a business goal, a technology strategy, but I'm not sure they have a time strategy, especially if you have more of it. We all crave more time and wish we had more, but I'm not sure we've identified what would we do with it if we had it. And I think it's an important piece to bring into the picture.
When somebody finally does the real implementation, I'm going to switch gears here. How do you approach somebody that says, Kristen, I'm proud that I work 80 hours a week. And you're talking about a major paradigm shift here. And you and I both know that if an advisor's working 80 hours a week, then really it's not a badge of honor anymore because of technology. It's actually terrible inefficiencies generally caused by the advisor.
Yeah.
If somebody hires you, let's quantify here, because everybody always asks me that. So I'm going to be able to put my shoe on the other foot and ask you this question. If I hire you, is there a time range that you can say, Matt, I generally save people X amount of time?
It's a tough question. And I get asked it. A lot of other consultants get asked it. And the tough part is, the only way that I know if I'm saving you true time is if firms time track, which the minute I said that, all of your podcast listeners literally, gasped and made a face, right? Nobody loves to time track, but you have to start somewhere. You have to identify how long it takes you to create a financial plan using your proprietary Excel document versus how much time it takes you to generate the plan using a financial planning tool and the technology and integrations that I might be recommending. And so if firms are interested in learning that, we can certainly, in the beginning, time track certain scenarios. And it's short-lived. You time track for, 2 times of financial plans that you've done, or 1 week of new client onboarding processes. And we just document that and put it away for a while. And then once the new technology is implemented with the process along with it, right? That's part of the key here. Implementing the technology means nothing. Implementing the process, incorporating the technology, is the key. And so once we do all of that, then we can track our time in a sense of time spent. And then we can also discuss what was easier, what was harder, what seemed like it was less stress, what went well, what didn't. And that's where the value can come in. We work in an industry that is based off of ROI, that return on investment. So I appreciate the question. What it really comes down to is ROE, for me, return on efficiencies. That return might not just be time. It might be staff that are more trusting of you in your executive decisions towards growth and technology. It might be happier people. It might be less confused people. It might be people who are so glad they didn't have to watch an hour video, but spent 15 minutes with me screen sharing where I showed them all of the quick tricks they needed to know. So all of those things are a little less quantifiable, right? Is that time is happy, how do I gauge somebody's happiness and contentness in their job, that they're more efficient and they're more organized? It's hard to gauge that, but it does come with the territory of what I bring to the table.
Man, you answered that way better than I've ever been able to answer that question when I'm in a sales process. And I love ROE. Kirk and I are going to have to try to think of how we're going to encapsulate that, because there is so much that goes into what you do as a tech consultant and a tech strategist, and what we do from a marketing perspective that is not quantifiable. It's not an A plus B equals C equation where money in, money out sort of thing. So that was brilliant. I can't wait for Kirk to listen to this. He's going to be like, wow, yeah, Kristen really said that well. Closing thoughts. Is there anything going on right now before, because we're about to get into 2019. Is there anything new going on? Are you speaking anywhere? Is there anything that you want people to check out on your website? This is your time to just kind of update the audience.
No, I appreciate the opportunity. I just finished a huge opportunity with one of the custodians in speaking at multiple conferences for them. I am putting my ring in the hat for many of the different conferences upcoming. Obviously, as you know, conferences are a big thing these days. So, putting my ring in the hat with the FPA, other custodial experiences, and so forth. My website does offer a lot of videos. A lot of people struggle to hire a consultant because they don't know what it feels like. It really is a personable relationship that I create with my clients, and I create the accountability and the knowledge sharing, and people have to let me in. I get to know your business. I don't just get to know your tech. And so a lot of firms question me on what does it feel like to implement with you, right? And that's an unknown. So I've created some videos so people can get to know me more and know my approach. I am a tough cookie, and I am proud to say that. Firms that work with me are looking to take action. We can talk about stuff all day long, but technology and the infrastructure of what's going on with tech these days, it's changing faster than you and I change our socks. And so keeping up with it is the hardest part. So firms that work with me are looking to take action and looking to take accountability to actually create change. Now, with that said, change can be very scary. They're also looking for a partner to be able to talk to their staff, their advisors, their planners, their juniors, and be able to say, I've got you and we're going to be okay. Just stick with me and we'll pull through this. And I think that's part of what's missing in the industry right now. Vendors are offering amazing technology. Advisors are offering amazing services to their clients, but there's no bridge to the gap of how you make it work together. So my website does offer a lot of that. I will be, and I hopefully will be speaking a lot more and updating my website to show that. I think what I see happening for 2019, in a sense of vendor roadmaps and where technology is going, is this client experience is being talked about a lot. I just spoke about this at a conference I was at last week, where the client experience is so much more than our industry for financial investment. I can't schedule a dentist appointment for my kids without using a client portal. We don't even order pizza without going into a client portal, right? So the experience is actually happening all around us, which means clients are exposed to it in other areas of their lives, which means we need to catch up to this trend very quickly because it's almost becoming expected. And so I think that client experience is really important that firms take time to address it. But what gets a little bit hard to cut through in a sense of the red tape and the understanding is every single technology tool is offering a client portal. So what gets really hard is if you have a tech stack, I'll just use an example. If you're using Redtail, Orion, and eMoney and Money Guide Pro, that's 4 technologies. 3 of them offer a client portal. So which one is right for you? Which one offers you the best integrations and the best client experience for your demographic of client? Those are the questions that I think people are going to need to start talking about, in a sense of, I have some really great technology. I truly have a great tech stack, Kristen, but I don't know how I'm supposed to use it and how that translates to the end client. So that's kind of what I see coming down the pike. I also started a small blog area that I'm starting to, post some of my simple thoughts on my blog. So people are welcome to do that. I also encourage people, yes, I'm a consultant. Yes, this is, how I make my impact on the industry, but I love this. I have a passion for this. So I am one of those nerds, proudly wearing the nerd cap. I love the conversation. So I have a button on my website that just says, let's chat. You have a random question, I'm happy to chat with you about it. I have a belief that I am very willing to give you anything that I know from my experience, from all of my implementations, and from all of my work experience. It means nothing unless people actually do something with it. So if you have a random question because you can't get something working, or you're not sure as you look at 2 different vendors, book a call. That's what the calls are for. I spend a lot of time on the phone talking with advisors. And if they're not ready to work with me today, they will be someday. And if I can give you a little glimmer to pivot you to go forward, that's what I'm here for. So I'm happy to do it.
And make sure you check out RIAOasis.com is the website that Kristen's talking about. And also follow her on social media. She's always putting out really, really good stuff. And the videos on her webpage are videos that I forwarded to my marketing team and said, hey, we've got to create videos like this. So Kristen, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, I greatly appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
If you have technology that is not working as efficiently as you want it to be, if you notice that it's more cumbersome to use different programs than that old Excel spreadsheet that you've relied on for many, many years, please take the time and talk to Kristen and find out what she can do for you. Technology can be one of the greatest selling tools, one of the greatest marketing tools, and of course, the greatest client experience tool. We know as well as you do, if you have a great client experience, that is when everything changes. Referrals happen. Centers of influences are happier. Your practice just starts running like a top, which, since most of you are very, very detail-oriented and controlling type people, which is what makes you a great advisor, take control of your technology. And like we said right at the beginning of the podcast, there's a lot of people out there who do what Kristen does, especially with her experience of being in the trenches. So once again, Kristen, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
And if you have not subscribed to the podcast, make sure you click that subscribe now button below. And also, if you know an advisor who has just been grumpier than all grumpy, or if you're an assistant and know another assistant who's just freaking out about their technology and so tired about how it works inefficiently, make sure you share this podcast with them. That way, hopefully, they'll be able to get some assistance from Kristen and her team. So for everybody at RIA Oasis and Kristen Schmidt, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.
Are you ready to change the way you communicate with your clients? Are you tired of being the best kept secret in your area? Learn how to become a prolific online influencer, attract more ideal clients, and grow your business. Contact us today and see what the power of podcasting can do for your business. Click on the Contact Us link on our website at topadvisormarketing.com and set up a call to learn more. Follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook for more updates and information.
This was brought to you by Iris.xyz, a platform helping financial professionals become better in business and life through new media and new voices. Visit them and learn more at Iris.xyz.